Money and the money. Money and the money.
Hello and welcome to Money Talk by Money Party. Money Party, literally the best group ever. My name is S. Cameron Shillderberg, and I will be your host today. And our guest is Eric Chen from Injective Protocol. Very good to have you today, Eric.
Hey, Cam. Thanks so much for having me as well.
I tell you what, I know that I'm personally like to buy and sell the Bitcoins and the Ethereums. Are you also selling the Bitcoins and Ethereums?
I'm not selling, I'm buying right now.
Fantastic, fantastic. So you've created something that's even better than Bitcoins and Ethereums. Is that correct?
I can't really say that it's better. Just because we have a token doesn't make it better, but we are making an exchange.
An exchange, okay. So what are you exchanging?
Yeah, so Injective Protocol is a layer 2 decentralized derivatives exchange. So essentially you can exchange both, the token itself by scaling a lot of tokens on Ethereum to our own chain and kind of trade the spot markets. But the more exciting part is to trade, all the derivatives and going leverage 100x or something on, some of the more popular markets like Bitcoin.
Derivatives, yes. I love derivatives. Personally, all the time, derivatives, morning, night, day. What's a derivative?
Yeah, so basically derivatives, there's a lot of types around it. So it's essentially like a representation or, like an agreement upon a certain price point of the underlying. So essentially you don't have to actually trade the underlying to trade the derivative itself. Sometimes it settles onto the underlying from time to time, like expiry futures. It rolls over every quarterly or every month or so, or it just never settles. And basically, people use the collateral to trade against like a certain price index, and you can create, a very, very expansive market around that very own price index.
What you're trying to say is a derivative is different from a Bitcoin.
Yes, it's different.
Okay, so why would someone trade derivatives and not the Bitcoins?
Well, you can trade a Bitcoin derivative, like a Bitcoin perpetual swap, where you can go 100x. So whatever money you make from just owning Bitcoin, times that by 100.
Oh, all right. So it's like making a bet on the way that it's going to move. I can do that with the derivatives.
Yeah.
So how are you going to make me rich, Mr. Chen?
Long as you're not liquidated, we have like a really, really expensive offering. We plan on supporting a lot of tokens other than Bitcoin or Ethereum. Obviously, we are going to support those as well at like a reasonable leverage, so you don't get liquidated instantly as soon as you place an order. So basically, it's a platform for you to potentially make a lot of money if you manage your risk well.
So you're telling me I got to make a lot of money, but I got to manage my risk well. I don't know about that. How do I manage my risk well?
Usually the kind of like the original intent of a derivative is to making sure that you can hedge your, spot exposure, or, in a traditional market, let's say you're a fisherman and you have a lot of fish and they're deemed as a commodity. Usually that's not the case, I would say, but, assuming in this case that it is a commodity, then you can start, purchasing a futures contract to kind of guarantee that price. So it depends on like how you structure your strategies, how you make your trades. But derivatives, essentially, it's a great source for you to gain some sort of leverage exposure. But just in general, like if you, own a lot of Bitcoin and you're worried that the price is going to drop, you can go on like a leverage position to kind of hedge your bet against, your spot position.
All right. So you've invented something that's like the bookie in the betting.
Yeah, essentially.
So anyone can be the bookie. How do you become the bookie?
Yeah. So basically, the way our network works is that it's a decentralized network. So all these relayers, that's kind of like the term that we go by instead of bookie, kind of maintains their own order book, but they all reach a consensus by the end of, like every single block production round. Usually the block production is really, really quick, so you don't actually kind of notice that, even if there are some disparities between, these kind of like bookies in a sense, between every single consensus round. By the end of it, what you're really going to see is that it's a 1 second update for the order book, so that you can kind of see, all the trades coming in and kind of keep it really, really consistent in terms of what the order book looks like. So usually I would say in Ethereum or in a lot of, like a probabilistic finality chains, that's a really, really big term. So I'm going to skip that. What you're seeing on the order book, especially for those ones that are setting on the blockchain itself, it doesn't mean that that's going to be like the final order book. And usually in a lot of cases, what if someone canceled in the meantime, or, like what if this is a fork? So in our case, since we're
what if they're trying to screw me, Eric? What if they're trying to screw me?
Yeah, like perfectly possible. Like what if they're just spoofing? They're already on their way to cancel this huge make order on the order book. So in our case, we are instant finality. So there is this guarantee that by the end of every single consensus round, which is really rapid, you can ensure that this order book is obviously true to what the state looks like right now.
All right, Eric. So, I'm going to tell you a secret. I've been collecting very rare stamps, and the guy, he tells me they're going to be worth megabucks. And I like to, I'm a very shrewd investor. I put a lot of cash into these stamps. So you're telling me I can make a book on my Indian Ocean stamps? Indian
Ocean, wow, that is very, very rare. Yes,
oh,
so
thank you.
Theoretically, if you have a price feed, you can create a market around it. And now I'm not sure like everyone's going to trade on it, or if that price feed is accurate, because obviously, like the price feed is kind of like the cornerstone of the entire market. So people have to trust that price feed. So usually we would go through some sort of decentralized oracle, or, like a centralized oracle backed by someone's extremely trusting, usually the source itself. So how do you know, how do you know the price of that stamp? Like, do you have like a consistent price?
Oh, the guy, he tells me it's worth a stack, but I guess I could put it on eBay.
Okay, yeah. So eBay source is actually pretty nice. Usually there's actually even more like sophisticated one these days, like, StockX, that actually has a pretty robust kind of like pricing feature that allows you to keep track of, the price history. So for those cases, I would say, if it's being traded, thousands of times per day, then yeah, that would be like a relatively more reliable price feed than what your seller tells you. In that case, like you can create a price feed around it. And if it is a big enough market and people want to trade it, then you're going to see liquidity started coming in, and you can, either hedge or bet in terms of like owning all the stamps, or, no one really cares about the stamps and you kind of just, own the stamps.
Hey, people are listening. We wouldn't say no one. Everyone likes the stamps. Oh, sheesh, wish. So, I think we're going to make money here, Eric. Stamp market. Look, what have you been doing for the last couple of years? Yeah. Wait, you've been working on things, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been working on Injective.
When did you begin working on Injective?
I would say end of 2018 or so.
Oh, fantastic. So you published the white paper, what was it, over 2 years ago?
Yeah. So basically the white paper talks about the general infrastructure that we had. I kind of like skipped a lot of those, tricks and the schemes that we made during within the white paper, so that it doesn't go over your head. But basically, through that infrastructure, we're able to build what we have today, because it's an extremely generalized infrastructure that, it kind of governs how the chain works. It kind of governs, how you should order all the transactions to make sure that it's all fair. And then from that point on, we can build a spot market. And then from that point on, we can build a derivatives market.
So I met a guy called Arthur, and he told me to use BitMEX. And so my money turned liquidated. And so what's the deal with that, man?
Yeah, so basically Arthur is kind of like the bookie in this case. He's the only bookie. And he has a lot of power in terms of deciding, because he holds both the money and also the book. So he has a lot of power to decide, whether I should liquidate this position, or, I can sell this information that, all these positions are about to be liquidated. You guys should trade against that, or you can do something about it. So there's a lot of, chance for corruption, a lot of room for manipulation just in general. And another really important part is that because of the regulatory bodies of, US or like China, you can't really access BitMEX easily, especially starting, I would say, February next year. It's almost impossible for you as an individual to like access BitMEX if you're from the US or like those like sensitive regions. So I mean, like Arthur's having a lot of fun. He's holding all this money and a book, but we're gonna do something better.
Well, I like to trade big positions, 50x, 150x, and just make that money rain in. You know what I'm saying? And but I'm trying to I put in the position futures, because I want to be rich in the future. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I'm trading, I'm putting the order, but then the price moves just after I click. What's the deal, man? And how did that website do that?
Then you get liquidated?
No. I put in the order, and then just before it like registers, it says, "Oh, order submission delayed," and then the price moves. What's going on?
Yeah, so usually in that case, it's like during like a high traffic event. So there's probably like thousands or like hundreds of thousands of people trying to submit their order, getting their order squeezed in. And usually there's not much you can do about it unless, you just get pretty lucky or you have your server farm right next to BitMEX's.
Yeah, so how do I know like Sam Bankman-Fried isn't going to like see my trade and like trade before me?
Well, Sam is in BitMEX.
Yeah, right. Like surely like they can just see like my trade, on the website and then just like reject it and then front run me.
Well, if you're talking about FTX, then yeah, that's a possibility because he runs that exchange. But in BitMEX's case, there has been, like rumors or like speculations that he might be, sending out some whitelist address or some sort of like special APIs for people to access, just in general, like the open interest or priority processing.
Yeah. How much does it cost for access to that? I guess you don't know, right? But I don't want to, I don't want to deal against that sort of situation. So are you solving that issue?
Yeah. So basically, this is kind of what our white paper went over. Essentially, in order for your order to kind of like make it into the consensus and actually get submitted, accepted, settled, you have to submit like a VDF time proof along with it. So during like kind of like low traffic times, this is mostly fine. You don't really need to submit a really long one. As a matter of fact, if the block isn't filled, you don't even have to submit one as well, unless you want to kind of like guarantee a transaction queue. But during high traffic events, this is a really good way for to be extremely fair and kind of like transparent way for people to tell, like this guy has an order. There's no chance for us to obviously front run him, which is kind of like how we designed it in the first place. But more importantly, this guy has an order, and we should probably include in this block because he obviously started submitting it first. So it's no longer the advantage coming from I have this server farm really close to BitMEX, or I paid this really high gas on Ethereum to kind of pump the price on Uniswap. So there's a really good way for people to start telling that there's a fairness and it doesn't really cost much money.
Yeah. I want to make money. I don't want other people cutting my grass. So you're saying your platform is fair and there's no one dude sitting in the middle who's sort of, giving advantages.
Yeah, it's completely fair. It's completely transparent and it's all on-chain. So if you ever feel like, something's being sketchy, or if you ever feel like, someone's front running you, you can just go on the Explorer and just check.
So your platform, why is it better than the other competitors? Are people making similar derivatives to decentralized platforms? Yeah.
So there are some options out there, like I would say FutureSwap, Derivadex. A lot of them are like pre-launch or like had a beta, or DYDX. So there's a few distinctions. Number one is that DYDX, namely Derivadex, are all using kind of like a centralized scaling solution. So recently, DYDX started, working on a ZK rollup with Starkware, and essentially how it works is that DYDX hosts like a centralized server that maintains, all the in-between states between all the Ethereum transactions. So you deposit into, let's say a smart contract, and DYDX's own server starts, handling all the transactions from that point on. And from time to time, they'll send like a ZK proof on chain to show you that, I didn't fuck around with the settlement or trades. But in terms of actually trade submission and also order book management and just maintenance, if their infrastructure stays the same way, then they still have absolute central control over that. And in terms of derivative DEX, there's not that much open information, but they kind of just use a different flavor. Essentially, what they're using is, like a trusted execution environment. So essentially, it relies on Intel's kind of like a specialized zone where once you submit, all the codes or like executions into that zone, you have no control over it, so you can't really manipulate it. So obviously, there's a very, very, it is, trusted and secured by Intel, which is, I guess, it's good enough for most people. Unless you don't trust Intel, then that sucks. Probably derivative DEX is probably not the best idea for you. But yeah, so one trend you're going to start seeing is a lot of these solutions out there. They all rely on that one single server. And that's really important to remember, because there's a lot of regulatory issues attached to it. There's also a lot of trust issues attached to it. Essentially, like what if the DYDX server is down? What if, derivative DEX server is down? Like, you can't make money anymore.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, all right. Who is Satoshi Nakamoto?
I have no idea. He might not be alive, though.
Are you Satoshi Nakamoto?
No, definitely not. I would not be here.
Okay, very, very interesting. We've interviewed a couple of people who've let us who've given us hints in that direction, but I guess your Injective Protocol, we can grab a share of it. What I heard a fantastic rap song from another Money Party member. Amazing beat. It gets stuck in your head. How can we at Money Party get a part of Injective Protocol?
Yeah, so we actually have a token, and essentially what a token does is, first of all, it secures our own chain. So like I mentioned before, there's a consensus round going on. How do we secure that? How do we make sure that's fair? So there's a really general kind of process. It's called proof of stake, and essentially you stake your token into it, and you generate like a fixed and predictable yield that's kind of governed by the consensus. And it's really, really critical to have the token itself, because otherwise you don't really have anything to go by. And if we use any other token, obviously, the attack cost becomes linear rather than, exponential. So that's kind of like the most important feature of the token. And second of all, there's a buyback and burn. So obviously the exchange charges fees. And over time, kind of, we collect a lot of these, different stable coins and different, shit coins across different markets, and we collect them into a pool. And we can just go through like a decentralized auction to accept bids from all over the world, mostly market makers, denominated in INJ. So the smart contract can just pick the highest, bid for INJ and just burn it. So the entire exchange value is directly tied to the token because of that. And there are some like nice incentives like, liquidity mining that we can do. So for example, if you have an open interest, we can actually weigh it by the net P&L that you have. And from that point on, we can just airdrop, a fixed amount every day, weighted by, those net P&Ls.
All right. Money Party members, we're going to get a chance to buy it before everyone else, right?
That is.
That is the greatest news I've heard. You've absolutely sold this to me. I think that this is the absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to snatch me my own little part of Injective Protocol and start making a book for the rare stamps. Not many people can get access to these except me. So like if people want to start betting on these, I also have a Michael Jordan NBA Fleer card. So, we can start making markets on this. Whitelist, I love it. Pre-sale, loving it. This is going to be fantastic. And I'm glad you're a member of Money Party as well. Money equals party equals money. So, we might even create a derivative for the party token.
Oh yeah, that's completely on the table as well. Let's do that.
Fantastic, man. So some people tune in late. They miss the start. Like, sum it up. what's the future of Injective Protocol and why is it amazing?
Yeah. So kind of like regurgitating the main points, Injective Protocol is the layer 2 decentralized derivative exchange. So essentially we scale all the transactions on Ethereum, mainly, especially this settlement and also transaction deposit and withdrawal part onto our own layer 2 chain through optimistic rollup that we're going to be divulging at a later point in time. And we our own chain is a Cosmos based. So basically it can also support IBC and just in general, across different peg zones down the road as well. Once, Cosmos is ready with their IBC, which is, who knows. And so there's the way we set up the infrastructure is that there's so much possibilities that you can do with it. Number one, once IBC is ready, once there are more, peg zones coming out very soon, we can start doing cross-chain stuff. You can use it. You can use, I don't know, like BTC, like what's like a popular chain out there? Give me some ideas.
I love the Uniswap just because I love unicorns, mystical animals, fantastic. Mount Gox, it's a good one.
No, I'm talking about chains, blockchains.
Oh yeah, chains, man. So we're talking like, we've got Ethereum, we've got EOS, we've got the Tezos.
Oh, there we go.
We got we've got so many chains. We've got the Bitcoins, we've got the other Bitcoins, Bitcoin version 3,
Yeah.
How many chains can we do, man? So many chains.
So long as there's a peg zone, we can do it. So, usually EOS is actually a pretty easy one. So you can just directly connect to it. I think if people want to, they can easily deploy like a peg zone on Cosmos right now. And basically, as long as there's a peg zone, we can connect to it, and you can use those tokens as collateral, or just in general, open up a spot market on top of us as well. And who knows, just because how flexible and how generalized our derivative model is, we might even be able to support options later on, or we can even swap out some components of our futures protocol and open up insurance fund for staking. So that's going to be very fun.
Options, love it. Insurance, even better. Look, I tell you what, man, you going to stay around in the Money Party chat after to answer a few sort of text queries? Some people are a bit voice shy, so they want to type in the chat.
Yeah, happy to.
And finally, I heard you're running a competition for finance-minded people.
Yep. So if you're interested in finance, if you have some sort of background in finance, we have a market, kind of like a derivative market design competition. So essentially, you can, if you have a price feed and you have, like a market you can do, feel free to submit like a proposal. Right now, like our entire price pool is around $10,000. So money's money.
Money equals party, my man. And it's been fantastic having you on. Thanks so much, Eric Chen. And let us continue the conversation in the party.
Money and the money. Money and the money. Money.